We're Cazzy and Bradley, and we're currently driving our camper van around the world. We're in Canada, and in this video, we do the most Canadian thing you can think of. We stay on a maple farm. Hello and welcome back to another vlog. Something exciting is happening. We are going to a maple farm, and I don't think you can get more Canadian than that. Before we get there, we've stopped at one of the more random sites I've seen.
A few years ago we were at the world's largest mitten in Swedish Lapland.
Swedish Lapland.
Yeah, how could we possibly one up the world's largest mitten? I think we found a way.
Let's show you.
It's the world's largest axe.
I only have one question, and it's why?
It says there, symbolises the importance of the forest industry.
Oh, well there you go. The world's largest axe. You can't say that we don't bring insightful stuff on this channel.
So cool.
Alright, we've made it to Dumfries Sugar Shack, and it says Pancake House on it as well, and we're actually going to have pancakes tomorrow morning, which I'm even more excited about. But you can see the little hut there. So I think we're going to take a walk and go see where the maple's made. So
Meet the baby maples?
meet the baby maples.
How the maples are
Maple season, we're just sort of getting going now with it, and it only can happen in about a 6-week period this time of year. So in our area, like, we're sometimes going maybe from the second week of March to about the third week of April, and usually the third week of April will be the longest we'll go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we drill a hole and then we insert that tap or spile, and then it'll just drip out into the can.
Wow.
And the other system is sort of a series of pipelines that all connect the trees all together, and then that flows into a central tank, and then we just bring it into here to process it. Photos pre these buildings, but these buildings would be about here.
Yeah.
And this is the river out front here, and then these are our two boundary lines. So we have about 350 acres that run out through here, and by looking you can tell a little bit of difference just in the shades of green, but this sort of area here is where the hardwoods and maples are. So that's where all our production is in this stand here.
Okay.
But we do have down around here, and you'll see some just about 200 or so taps down close to the buildings here.
Interesting.
And out here, we have a building here and a building here, and this is the height of land, so we're actually on top of a ridge, so there's pipelines all flowing this way and then pipe flowing this way.
You're saying this is sap that comes into...
So they've actually tapped the tree.
Yeah.
Like, we know nothing, like maybe Canadians, Americans, we know nothing about this. So they literally tap the tree.
And it drops out.
And look, that bucket is full.
It is.
He said this can fill within a few hours.
That's class. And he also said to try some.
So he said this is like 3% sugar.
Yeah.
So, and they're in there, I guess they boil off a lot of the water. But so this is straight out of the tree. It's a little bit thick. Yeah, you can taste it. It's like sugary water.
Yeah? I'll give it a go too. Yeah, there's like a hint of sugar.
Yeah, it's like a
sweetened water, yeah.
It's like a woody taste to it.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because you can taste the sweetness already. So it's just the natural sweetness.
What's happening in that tree, like sort of in, like we have 4 seasons here, distinct seasons, and now in the summertime the trees are in full foliage, so through photosynthesis they're just making food and energy for themselves, like from the sunshine in the air, in the sunshine, and then drawing water up from the ground, which contains nutrients and things to feed the tree.
Okay.
And then in autumn, what happens, like we lose our leaves fall off our hardwoods. So basically that's what's happening is the tree is going dormant.
Okay.
So when it goes dormant in the fall, there's a sort of a supply of a reserve of sugar that is stored down in the root system.
Okay.
And that will stay there for the winter. And then when we get into the spring of the year, what we're looking for when we start to get into nighttime temperatures of about -5 or 6, and then a daytime temperature of around 5 or 6, positive, then that will start to make the sap begin to move in the tree. And it's actually happening right at the cellular level. So when that freeze-thaw cycle sort of acts as a little pump in the cells that starts to move the sap.
Okay.
So during the day, the sap is flowing up the trunk of the tree, and then when it freezes at night, all that sap is trapped up in the crown. And then the next day, when it thaws out, that sap that's up in the crown is released, and then it's on its way back down, and that's what we're collecting when it's on its way back down to the roots.
Wow.
So the way this is working is there's a series of pans, and the sap that's just sort of dribbling in is controlled by a float. And then within this machine, it's a long pan that's partitioned up and back, so when you start to boil it, there's a flow that pushes all the heavier material forward. So within this machine, if you were to take a sample everywhere, they'd all have a different amount of sugar content.
Okay.
But it would always be increasing toward the front of the machine. Sweeter here than it would be back here. It'd be less sweet here, and
Sure.
as you move back.
I can smell it.
Smells good.
It does smell really. It smells really good.
This thermometer, there's a distinct 7, and that's sort of the number we're after, because what's 7's indicating is the maple syrup is 67% sugar. It has a boiling temperature 7 degrees above that of water.
Okay.
So, 7 degrees Fahrenheit. When it's 67% sugar, it has a boiling temperature of 219. So 7 above. So we're just letting this cook, and when our thermometer reads 7, then we know right here we have syrup, and that's when we open it up and take some off, and then as soon as that drops below 7, we know we're not quite the syrup yet, so we'll shut it off and now put more wood in, and then the process just continues.
Do you do this all year round, or do you just make all the syrup in?
Well, everything we have, just that, 3 to 6 weeks is the only chance we get to
Do everything.
to make a year's supply of.
Can you not store it?
Well, we can store it in barrels year round,
Okay.
but we can't make any outside of this 4 to 6 weeks. Well, it's happening daily. That tree, if we were to test it that you were down at, like today, that might be 2.5% sugar.
Yeah.
But every day that sugar content is decreasing some. So in a few weeks, well, one thing I should, I guess, point out behind you there, it takes this much sap to make that one size bottle of syrup.
Okay.
Right.
And that's sort of a little bit at the best of times, because daily that sugar content in the tree is slowly going down.
Yeah.
So that means that ratio is always going up. Very sustainable, because this is a maple tree that was on a sugary across the river that operated for a number of generations. But what happens when we tap the tree, well, that would have been one of the last tap holes probably put in that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But see, so when you tap the tree, you lose that little bit of wood where you take your drill out.
Right.
So there's a void. But then what also happens is there's a stain that develops just above and below that tap hole. So this stain would be associated with that tap hole. So all this stained wood, that's all showing evidence of going back in time, how often this tree had been tapped.
Right.
Wow.
So that's obviously, if the tree goes like that with the growth rings, so going back to when this tree was quite small, though, those would have been 2 large sort of hand carved wooden spiles that were probably stuck in that tree way back a couple hundred years ago, and then it was just continuously tapped. Sugar maple will live to be 250 years old or so. It's quite a long live trees. Currently, New Brunswick is the world's third largest producer, and the state of Vermont, which is basically just below, south of Quebec, is the second largest producer. It has about 11% of the world's total, and then New Brunswick has about 10%.
That's not true Canadian maple syrup, is it?
Well, not down there. No.
It's better up here, north of the border.
Well, no, we think so.
But yeah, we've come for breakfast.
Did you have maple butter for breakfast?
Syrup.
We had syrup.
Okay, you had syrup. So the next product after this, if you cooked it a little further, would be granulated sugar, granulated maple sugar.
Okay. Yeah.
So there'd be no water in it, and you'd be right down to the basics. So we actually have to warm it up in order to be able to pour it, but then we pour it out on our sheet of ice here, and it'll cool down and then stick together.
I got my hair stuck in it. Sweet. So we have just left the maple farm, and
Which is sad.
we're all hyped up on sugar though, so it's hard to be too sad. That was really, you know what it was? It was a really wholesome experience, is what I would describe it as. Everyone's really friendly, and I'm just...
Jane and Nathan are two of the friendliest people you can ever meet.